advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
This is Ocala Talks with Tom Schmidt, bringing stories that are important to our community in and around Ocala. Plus, of course, a splash of sports as well. Now, here's your host, Tom.
Good Thursday morning. Welcome to Ocala Talks on a Thursday, albeit a chilly Thursday, but it's supposed to warm up to 76 degrees today, so the sun's high in the sky. It's well on its way to being warmer now. It was 47 when I left my house this morning. It is now warm. No, it was 41 when I left my house this morning. Excuse me. It's now warmed up to 47 degrees, so it's heading in the right direction. Speaking of heading in the right direction, let's head out and talk to Galen Unall from Life South. Brought to you by the good folks at Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center, Pin Flooring, and Just Ship. Galen, good morning.
Hey, what's going on, Tom? How are you?
I find that I am peeling the onion, as it were, peeling the pieces of onion away, and I find that now I don't know what to believe. Was there a shot or a pain pill administered or told that they must take on the sideline, and a refusal, and then if you don't take the pain medicine and get back in the game, you're going to get cut, so I didn't quit, or I don't know what's going on in Tampa Bay now. Because they still, by the way, they said that he was no longer part of the team, but nobody's released Antonio Brown yet. He's still on the 53-man roster.
Yeah, I again, it's such a bizarre act. You know what had happened? I was like, there's something there. And if this was any other player, right? Let's say this is Gronk or Mike Evans.
We'd say, what is Tampa Bay doing?
No, we would have stopped and said something is here, right? We wouldn't have instantly blamed the player.
Right, exactly.
So I did read that. I take that report with a massive grain of salt that you're referring to about how he refused treatment on the sidelines. Not really how it works. You don't get a shot on the sidelines because it doesn't take that quick of an effect. You don't take a pill on the sideline. It doesn't have that. It doesn't take effect that quickly. I know they have some compounds that they can put on the ankle, but I don't know. I don't. Man, this is football.
Well,
I think this kind of thing goes on all the time.
I talked to a trainer friend of mine last night. I was texting with her, and she says she works for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And she said that in the blue tent, when the blue tent goes up, sometimes numbing agents are administered in the blue tent to help with immediate pain. So I don't know if that's what he's referring to. And they gave him a numbing agent and then said, get back in the game. Or he says that he's had an MRI now done yesterday, and the MRI shows, done Monday or Tuesday, and the MRI shows that there's bone fragments, there's a fracture, a hairline fracture, and there's bone fragments floating around his ankle, and that, he wasn't going to play. The Bucs say, well, we don't believe your MRI. We need our people to do an MRI. Does this look like it's leading towards lawyers making a lot of money before this is over?
Well, sure. I mean, they're and that could be why they haven't released it, because it's on the IR. Or I'm surprised they haven't put them on the IR to at least open up the roster spot. So, the whole thing is weird, though, right? I mean, the whole thing is weird. So, yeah, he was having a great game. It wasn't that he wasn't getting touches. It was just that he couldn't play with the pain, according to reports that have come out. And then he was at the court side of a basketball game the following day.
Well,
it's weird.
If he couldn't play with the pain, he kind of run and hopped and jumped his way out of the stadium. Didn't look very painful on his way out of the stadium. But he says the reason you saw that is they had already put numbing agents in it. They'd already put numbing agents in his ankle.
And that very well may be true, but you also know there's two different tiers
for
these guys, right? I mean, there's cutting, and then there's cutting. What the cutting that they put their body through would break our ankle, right? We're just not, we're not ready for that. If we were to put that kind of force on their body when you're running a 4.5, and then you decide to take a 90-degree angle on your ankle and nothing bad happens, that's just something the average body can't do. So they're different, and their pain tolerance for an NFL athlete is so great. Yeah, and I've been in locker rooms where you're talking to an offensive lineman and he takes his pads off, and you see his shoulders are just swollen and bruised, right? And you see the coloring coming in. And I remember Leon Searcy was playing for the Jags. He was a Pro Bowl player, came over from the Steelers. He was a veteran, but he was a guy who would just talk to you because he was just when it ended up going broke, by the way. He was one of the tank guys. And I was like, how? I said, mentally, how do you deal with this amount of pain every day? And he said, I'm a football player. This is what I do.
Yeah,
I don't really even feel it anymore. And I was just floored by it. Absolutely floored by it.
I mean, I played a game, the Hugo Bowl in '89. Ran down the opening kickoff and have no memory of the game or that Friday because we played the game Thursday night. I have no memory of the game, no memory of Friday. Next thing I remembered was Saturday morning in the line in Landrum. Rex Nottage going, she wants to know if you want an omelet or an egg or scrambled eggs, dummy. Well, he didn't say it that way, but, I can't. It's radio. And that's the first thing I remember. And I played the entire game with googly-eyed probably because I have no memory whatsoever of the game. But the mentality was if you could walk, you could play. And it wasn't just the mentality of the team. Yeah. That's the mentality of the player. Sometimes the team stops the player because the player wants to get back in there. When I was in high school, I broke my ring finger on my right hand where it was bent over sideways towards my pinky. I ran over the sideline. Coach Braddock looked at it and said, well, I guess you're done for the night. I go, nah, I'm good. Tape it up. I'll be all right. They taped my finger to the other two fingers in a 3-finger splint, like almost. And I went back out there. Was the pain excruciating? Every time I hit somebody with the pain, it was excruciating. But then that just led me to get angrier and angrier and put more pain on the people I was hitting. So it to me, that broke finger helped me in that game. We were playing Middleburg. That broke finger didn't deter me a bit. The average person's going, what? You broke your finger? And no, you didn't do what? No, it's just a broke finger. I got 9 more. What's the big deal?
But, and that's what makes the NFL different, is that pain threshold. And maybe Antonio Brown wasn't, and somebody, and I saw one of the comments were like, oh, the guy is soft. Like, he is not soft. You can call Antonio Brown whatever you want.
Soft isn't one of them.
But you are not going to call him soft. I mean, he got up from that perfect hit. And I watched that again. I forgot how big it was.
It is the most it's one of the most violent, except for the hit that Darryl Stingley took that crippled him.
Yeah, I was about to say that Tatum.
That Jack Tatum, except for what Jack Tatum did. And Jack Tatum and Ronnie Lott may have been the 2 hardest hitters in all. But Jack Tatum did it dirty. Ronnie Lott, depends on how you look at it. Depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
But Burfict was completely dirty, and that was one of the most violent collisions I've ever seen in the history of football.
Oh, and again, I don't. Again, we don't. And again, there's that mental side of Antonio Brown that we don't know. And by the way, let's be very clear: the Bucs won that game, or this would be being viewed completely different. Tom Brady makes that perfect throw. The Bucs win. Or we'd be talking about how Antonio Brown may have just set the Bucs up for failure all the way through to the Super Bowl.
Does it help Antonio Brown that Tom Brady came out after the game with such a glowing conversation about him?
Tom Brady, have you? And again, he talks about that you got to watch the man in the arena. I know it's difficult for you, but he talks about how he doesn't believe in negative energy. And he believes it just takes the life out of him. And so everything around him, he keeps positive. He never says anything negative to anyone. So, and it never said anything negative about anybody.
I'm just watching this play again. I got
about everybody.
I got it pulled up on the big screen again. I got it on the wide screen here with the perfect hit, and I'm watching it again. It's just, and now CBS has it slowed down, and Antonio goes up. He's stretched out. Now he comes down, and oh, man, just levels him right at the head as his head's snapping down. It snaps back. You want to call that guy soft, you're an idiot. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, and again, I mean, he runs, every route he runs is over the middle. I mean, he is that guy, and so we'll agree something happened. I don't know where to lay blame, and again, I don't think that we're at that point.
And
yet.
my question is,
Antonio Brown will not play for the Bucs again.
How many hits like that?
That's clear.
How many hits like that is Antonio Brown? And it's speculation here, but is Antonio Brown showing you the live version of what CTE looks like if they continue to play the game?
Maybe.
Because he's taking some serious hits like this through his career. The perfect hit, when you go across the middle, you're taking your share of hits. The perfect hit just seems to be the exclamation point. But you go back, I just put in Antonio Brown hits, and like YouTube came up with all these hits of him coming across the middle where he just gets blasted.
Well, and again, I think if you want a real life version of what happened to CTE, you look at Junior Seau.
Shot himself in the chest. Shot himself in the chest after leaving a note that he wasn't going to shoot himself in the head because he wanted them to look at his brain.
Correct. Well, but you could tell when you talk to him, and that's why he didn't do any more. Remember, when he went to the Patriots, he was a shell of the same guy. Right? But I interviewed him when he came and played the Jaguars, the mid-'90s. And middle of the sentence, just the middle of a sentence, 4 or 5 words in, he would stop and looked at me. And you could see that he was just completely not there. And just completely checked out, and that's not who he was. That's a
constant concussion. That's an ongoing concussion. That's why Dale Earnhardt Jr. tells you he got out of the race car because after he got concussed, he got back in the race car and he felt everything was swimming and everything like he was still in a concussive state. And there have been times when brain doctors have said, neurologists have said, the concussive state may not go away. It may not. The symptoms may not wear off.
Boy, Troy Aikman battles it. I mean, he's a guy who does TV. He goes through. I read an article where he was talking about it. He goes through cognitive therapy 3 or 4 times a week because that was a guy who got like 7 concussions. And he does these cognitive drills to keep himself sharp.
Jim McMahon is a shell of himself from concussions.
Jim McMahon, sure. He gave so much of himself that he's got nothing left. And again, I guess my whole point is that's what it's going to take for you to play football. You talk to any former NFL player or a football player at a certain level, you have to realize, and my son played at MCYFL. He was played tight end. He tells me now, he goes, I realized the day I was never going to play or really try in football again. He went across the middle, caught a tight end dump, got popped. He got right back up. He said, but I felt that hit for 2 days, and I realized I'm never going to do that again. And you look back at the film after he told me that, you go back, and he had like 4 more games. He didn't catch another ball because he would purposely not get open so he wouldn't get hit. And that's a mentality.
Believe me.
By the way, I don't blame him for that. That's just you have to have that within you.
Believe me, as a middle linebacker,
I'll take that hit.
Believe me, as a middle linebacker, I went my entire life to play in that position. My whole mindset was to make the guy coming into my area not want to ever come into my area again. That was my whole goal. My goal was, I wanted to sack a quarterback. I wanted to stop the ball. My goal was to make that middle of that field in between the hash marks, 7 yards off the ball, my property only, and anybody that came in that property, I would try to hit them so hard they never wanted to come there again. But that's the mentality you got to play with. That's how you have to play. It's a mean, nasty, dirty game. We got to take a break. We'll be right back with Galen Unall from Life South after this timeout. 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
This is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
Are you or your loved one being released from a hospital and wondering how you'll manage? Inform your physician that you want to go to Palm Garden of Ocala at 2700 Southwest 34th Street for your rehabilitation. Palm Garden provides pain management, post-discharge follow-up, diabetic care, psychosocial support, and so much more. Plus, they even offer outpatient rehab. This award-winning care facility has a team of licensed professionals dedicated to enhancing your independence. Call 352-854-6262 today.
Are you wasting time boxing up packages and going to the post office or the UPS store? Are you tired of not knowing what you'll pay when you get there? Just Ship offers pickup service and flat rate packaging and postage rates, which takes the guesswork out of shipping while saving you time and money. So quit wasting valuable time and money. Call or text Just Ship at 352-234-3840. That's 352-234-3840. Just Shipped.
Now you've done it. Have you lost your mind? He's back. And you're listening again. A legend in his own mind. Don't believe me? Just ask him. Here's Tom Schmitz live on WOCA. The Source.
Welcome back to WOCA's Ocala Talks with Tom Schmitz. I'm your host, Tom Schmitz. Galen Unall from Life South. He joins us on the phone lines. We've been talking about Antonio Brown and the saga that is Tampa Bay. But, Galen, this is one of those things that the NFL does. They've been trying for 10 years now. You know, they did away with their videos because back in the day when VHS was popular and all, you could buy videos that were NFL productions that showed these kind of traumatic hits and these blow-up hits and all. And then they realized, ooh, some lawyer could use these hits as and us glorifying them as evidence in a trial against us for not protecting our players and all. So they did away with those movies 10 years ago. They went with a newer, cleaner NFL where they tried to do away with hitting with the crown of the helmet. You can't hit above the shoulders or the neck or, prone players. They've tried to do everything. This is not the conversation the NFL wants anybody to be having right now.
Well, I'll tell you, even worse than that, the plaintiffs, the players, use those videos in court.
They did,
how they were
certainly.
And I think you're right. But I think it goes deeper than that. I think as a fan, we don't really want to talk about it, right? And again, as I told you, when you look at that perfect hit, it makes you wonder why you even watch such a barbaric sport. And then you realize there's so much, that happens that is just you don't see anywhere else, whether it's the toe-tapping catches or, some of the moves that the running backs go through, or when there is a really clean hit on a running back from the linebacker position, you're like, man, that's just spectacular. And both players get up and kind of tap each other on the helmet. But there is violence. It's a violent sport, and I don't think the Antonio Brown thing is going to go away for a while. I think it's going to stay with us. And every time one of these cases happens, Tom, you know this, is that it changes the NFL.
Yes.
Right? There's going to be some policy that's going to come out of this in the offseason because the NFL has already stated they're kind of involved. They're going to come out and some policy or practice will come out of this because one of the big issues the players always have is that the team's doctors don't always have the interest of the players in their interest.
And
Right?
the only
interest is for the owners.
and the only independent doctor, the only injury that has to have an independent doctor that doesn't work for the team make the decision is concussions. These kind of injuries with ankles and everything like that, that's the team doctor. The independent doctor that doesn't, have a dog in the fight except for, he's making a decision about, he or she's making a decision about concussions. This isn't that doctor. This is the team doctor that said he could go.
Yeah, and the problem with that is, unless you're a really high-profile athlete, you don't get a second chance.
No.
They just cut you. Oh, you don't believe what our doctor says? All right, well, you're cut. And this is why you can have these instances where these team doctors, like the guy at Michigan, who may have raped thousands of men who were scholarship athletes at Michigan, they have to do what he says because he controls their scholarship, he controls their playing time, he controls every aspect of their life. And you don't go against the team doctor.
No, you don't.
And the coaches even say that. The coaches come out like, well, I can't do anything if the doctor doesn't give the okay. And the doctors know that. They know the power they have, and it's a high-profile job, right? They get all kinds of incentives. They get to travel with the team. They get, all kinds of that credibility. So if the doctor's like, look, in order for us to win, you have to play. You're not going to do any more damage to the ankle. Go play. Antonio Brown, if that happens, has no recourse.
None.
Because they've even proven that you don't have to take their third party. In the NFL, these lawsuits happen all the time for workman's comp claims, right? All the time.
Yep.
And the NFL just settles because they know the player is never going to earn another dime playing football again, and he's either going to get a monthly settlement of X amount of dollars, or they do a payout, and now he's no longer eligible for all of those other benefits. And they're usually not a tenured athlete, right, where they're getting money once they turn 65. They're usually a guy who's been in the league 2 years, completely destroyed his knee because he played on it because the doctor said it was fine, and he can barely walk now. And then he goes back and sues, and they settle.
If you're listening and you don't think what Galen Unal just described happens on a daily basis, you are sadly mistaken, because everything he just described, and it not only happens at the NFL level. I know we're talking about the NFL level, but Galen brought it up, the Michigan thing. It happens at the college level too. Believe me, that scene in Varsity Blues where John Voight goes to shut the door because they're going to shoot the leg of the high school student, right. that may not happen in high school anymore, but there are still instances like that where decisions are made and pressures put on players at big-time college university programs right now, and in the NFL. And what's your recourse? Lose your scholarship? Go to work at Walmart or something? What's the recourse? There is none.
I guarantee you right now there's a guy for Alabama or Georgia who's going through this right now. Right now. And he may be like the second-string cornerback or something, and his ankle's bothering him. And he's getting pressure. And by the way, the pressure just doesn't come within that campus.
No, it comes
from home, too.
The home, the fans. Everybody.
It's a full-on thing. So I understand it. And by the way, I've seen this. I've seen this in spring in training camp for the Jags. If you're a borderline wide receiver for the Jags, and at the time they had 8 wide receivers and they were keeping 7. And Chris Dorian was one of the 7. I love this story. And one of the guys was iffy for practice, and I saw him twist his ankle. And it's one of those that it's like his ankle basically went 90 degrees to the ground. I'm like, he ain't playing in the afternoon. That could be it. And he comes out, he's running around like a chicken with his head cut off. No problem.
Yeah.
And asked him after the game, he goes, I wasn't letting that stop me.
No.
They drained it.
Yeah.
He said they drained it. He got a cortisone shot. He got a numbing agent.
Ready to go.
Said, I'll worry about it when I'm dead. And I remember he literally looked at me and goes, "I'll worry about it when I'm dead." And again, that's got to be their mindset, because his option is if he can make that, $5,000 a week.
I need to worry about a break. I need to worry about a break.
Not even work.
We'll be right back on WOCA The Source.
Different kind of break.
Radio News with Lance Pry.
The Chicago Teachers Union has voted to close down in-class learning for our kids. In fact,